Here it is, the legendary sound of keys. By the way, what do keys and light switches have in common? I'll tell you. Every home has one of each that they have no idea what it goes to. You have a light switch in your house that you actually have no idea what it connects to. You know what I'm talking about? And you also have a key that you have no idea what it's for. I'm just looking at this right now. There's actually one on here that I know what it's for, and three that I have no clue. Okay? Absolutely no clue. And I say this by means of introduction to Shlissel Challah Shabbos, which is this week, the week after Pesach. This is Shlissel Challah Shabbos. Some people have the minhag to make the challah into a shape of a key. Some people have the minhag to put a key inside the challah, or to put a key on the challah, or to put poppy seeds in the shape of a challah on the challah. There's different minhagim. It's a beautiful minhag. In the words of the Tamina minhagim, minhag Yisrael bevadai Torah. It's vadai. It's certainly a good thing. It's certainly a positive thing. I know there has been a little bit of a movement that maybe there's pagan, Christian. No, Minchas Asher came out clearly. Rav Asher Weiss said clearly, it's not Darki Amari. It's a beautiful thing. It has as source in the Abdarav, when the Pinchas of Karetz. I mean, we're talking about some of the great Hasidic leaders who ever lived. And when they say minhag Yisrael Torah, it's not to be taken lightly, it's not to be taken for granted, it's something that we should take seriously. And when I was doing a little bit of research about Shlissel Challah, I came across the Sefer Kol Menachem from the Khaliver Rebbe, and I was stunned. He says like this, V'amarti, and you can look it up in Parshas Emor, and this is what I want to share with you today. He says, V'amarti b'chasti Hashem Yisbarach lag lamid gimel ta'amim leminhag Yisrael Torah. He gives 33 reasons for the minhag Yisrael Torah, for this long-standing Jewish tradition for Shlissel Challah on the Shabbos Achar Pesach. And in the next few minutes, I'd like to run through all 33. My friends, if you want to buckle up, you got to buckle up. If you don't want to buckle up, still buckle up. It's the law. We're going to go fast. If you want to listen to this on extra speed, I might sound like a chipmunk, but it doesn't matter. We're going to go through all 33 reasons right here, right now. Hold your horses. If I say something that sounds incorrect, then it's probably my own thing. It's probably not the Khaliver Rebbe, the Kol Menachem. I'm going to refer to him as the Khaliver Rebbe. And if I say, I might add a couple of things here and there just by way of presenting these 33 ideas. Here we go. Let's jump right in. 33 reasons for the Shlissel Challah. Let's go. Idea number one, the Khaliver Rebbe says that you know that inspiration gets locked up in the Zman, right? Ne'ilah represents the idea that all of the Hashpos of Yom Kippur is now locked up, but now you need a key to access that. On Pesach, we achieve so much Kedusha and holiness, and now that's locked up, and we need a key to be able to open that and access that specialness and access that Kedusha that was experienced. The key represents our ability to access that which was locked up from the previous Yontif. Idea number two, the key represents our contribution to the Beis HaMikdash. It's small, but it's significant. In the Khaliver Rebbe explains that from the Rebbe of Rupshitz, that the pasuk says "Uveneo sab b'kar b'yameinu," that we're going to build it b'kar b'yameinu speedily in our days. And the Rupshitz Rebbe says that b'yameinu means we're going to build it not in our days, but b'yameinu, with our days. That with our days we're going to be able to build the Beis Hamikdash by doing our avodah, what we're supposed to be doing day in and day out. That's how we build the Beis Hamikdash. But we can ask, well, the generations before us, they're the ones who did all the big stuff, right? They're the ones who built all the big manifestations of spirituality. Us, who are we? What are we going to add to what they did? And the Khaliver Rebbe gives a mashal. He says, you have a king who builds large, beautiful buildings, and okay, fine, very nice, but there's one thing that's forgotten, and that is they forgot to lock the door. So now you have robbers and thieves coming in, and well, now your buildings are pretty much worthless because they're inhabited by ganovim, by robbers. All you need is a simple person. You don't need someone who has so much skill to lock a door. You just need even the simpletons to come lock the door. Us in our generation, we're like the simple ones compared to the older generations, the people who are such spiritual fire. and energy and vitality. But we are the ones that represent the key. That we hope and pray that we're going to be the ones to open the door for the base, to have the mafteach for the binyan Beis Hamikdash, to have the key for the building of the Beis Hamikdash. That's number 2, what the key represents. Number 3, the key represents parnasa. We know the gematria of lechem is 78. Lechem, like sustenance, is 78. 78 times 2 is Yosef, and it's in the realm of Yosef. Yosef was the shalit. He was the mashpir. He was the one in charge of parnasa. And the key, the Shlissel Challah key, comes to be in Merames, that our main avoda is to accept the Torah, to be mikabel the Torah, and we request from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we should also have Gashmias, the Shvi Hashpa of Gashmias as well. So the key represents parnasa. Number 4, the key represents tahara. Yosef is an acronym, says the Khaliver Rebbe, for Yud Vav, which is 16. Pei is Pa'amim times Samach, 60. 16 times 60 is 960, which is the shear tahara, the shear for a purified mikvah. And we're trying to tap into that purification. That's the key. That's the Shlissel Challah key. Number 5. We're up to number 5, key. And we're gonna go faster and faster. Let's go. Number 5, the Khaliver Rebbe says it represents the mafteach for teshuva. It's the key that represents a door for teshuva, and that now the shari teshuva, because we just got rid of the chametz, now the gates of teshuva are now open, and that's the mafteach. The key represents that now we can begin the hachana for Kabbalas Torah, and we could begin this teshuva process. By the way, I'll just say parenthetically, teshuva and Torah are kind of hand in hand. Hashivenu avinu l'sar secha. Fine. Number 6, let's go. The key represents geulas Yisrael. Mafteach legeulas b'nei Yisrael mitzrayim represents the key that we're now free from Egypt and free to accept the Torah. The key, number 7, the key is representing the power of eating. It's in the realm of kilachmenu heim sar tzilem me'alem. There's a power in the achila that we're able to unlock kedusha within the food. So the key we put specifically where? In bread, in something food, in the gashmias. We put it there and we said we can unlock the kedusha within the gashmias. Beautiful. Number 9. It's in the realm of Avram Avinu, ve'ekcha pas lechem, to take bread. Pas lechem, he says over here, is a reference to Tanakh, and it's the key represents our ability that now we're free from the Tahara, and we're free to have Kabbalas Torah to access the kibble, to access Kabbalas Torah. Number 10, the key represents the uplifting of the Gashmias to spirituality, and it's in the realm of Vihine Sula Mutav Arta, by Yaakov Avinu's dream, that the ladder was positioned in the ground and it was going up. Represents that the fact that there's physicality and we're supposed to be channeling towards upwards, and that's the idea of the key. Represents that we should go on this ladder. The key represents like this, going up and unlocking this ladder from Gashmias to Ruchnias. Fine. Number 11, the key is that right in the realm of Hatrif Feini lechem chuki, that Hashem provides every single day. What if someone's not deserving and they're not getting the hashpa, the influence of parnasa? They're saying, despite that, please Hashem, give us parnasa. Fine. Number 12, the key is to lock in the inspiration of Pesach. Right? Let's say he gives a mashal. If you have a king who unlocks his otzer and says everybody can come and take whatever they want, and then in the meantime he has orchestra, music, beautiful music playing, and people forget why they're there in the first place, and they end up just leaving all the inspiration. And there's so much inspiration in kedusha. This is the nimshal. There's so much inspiration and kedusha that was achieved on the holiday of Pesach, and we don't want to forget that. So we want to be locked into that, and that's what the key represents. That a person has to be able to close the door and to lock in the kedusha that he experienced from the holiday of Pesach. Okay, number 13. And if I'm off with the count, you can just let me know. Well, I guess we're on video, so you can't let me know. But okay, hopefully we won't be off count. We're up to number 13. Says the Khaliver Rebbe, the key represents the Tal Hashemaim. Right on Pesach, we daven for the dew, right? The Tfilas Tal. And we're connecting to that, the bracha of Yaakov Avinu, Mital Hashemaim. We're connecting to that blessing, and the key of Parnasa to be able to access that Tal, the Tal blessing, the Tal, the heavenly dew. Right, number 14, the key is meant to Chazal say, if you do something, you do something, then Hashem will help you out. And he says it's in the realm of, so we say in davening, right, on Friday night, come forth from the upheaval, that there's the matzah, matzah is Roshi Tevos for Tzi'i mitoch hafecha. to that, which means to come forth from the upheaval. Mekabel mafteach l'taraso, from the matzah, from what we apply, the energy that we apply in our kedusha, in our service of Hashem, that creates a mafteach, that creates a key for Tara, and that's what's alluded to in the key. We're up to number 15. The key symbolizes the open door, that when we left Mitzrayim, there was an open door, right? We left Egypt, and there was an open door. And person, when there's that initial opening, he makes kabbalos, that I'm going to be this, I'm going to be great, but then what happens? We leave that. No, so every day we recall constantly, Yetzias Mitzrayim, we always remember when the door was initially open, and the key, the Shlissel Challah key, recalls that time when the door was first open, and we want to always remember when the door was open. That way we keep the door open to always continue the great kabbalos that we take upon ourselves. Number 16, here we go. The key recalls the manna that came down, through the eating of matzah on Pesach. We're now zocha to the mafteach of lechem and shemayim, so the key is coming to access the man. Also parnasa. Some of these are similar, but he highlights these as different ones. Number 17, the key symbolizes malchus. A key of malchus, okay? And a person who has that key of malchus, it's going to be mushpa on him, and he's not going to have worries in his life. That's what he says. Okay, number 18, a key symbolizes bailus, right? It's Mara bailus. It's a true point, right? Someone walks around and think about your janitor, your high school janitor, right? He had like 1,000 keys on him. Like, he has access to every single room that you have no access to. A key represents bailus, or a person has a key to his car. Well, now a lot of them are wireless. By the way, I asked the Shaila this week, if you have a hotel key, can you put that in your key challah? Well, that kind of Shlissel Challah. I was told you shouldn't do it because it might melt. Okay, fine. How about your car key? You know, a lot of them are remote starts now. I don't suggest putting that in your challah either. But the idea of symbolism of a key is that it represents bailus. Who has bailus over who? Does the Yetzer Hara have bailus over you, or do you have bailus over Yetzer Hara? And that's what the key is coming to represent, says the Khaliver Rebbe in number 18. It's coming to say that you have to close the door on your Yetzer Hara. You have to have bailus on him, because that's what a key represents. It represents bailus. Here we go. Number 19. A key symbolizes guarding of the mouth. Somehow it's in the realm of shomer piv l'shono shomer mitzaras nafsho, the ability to guard one's mouth. I didn't fully understand what he was saying inside, but perhaps on some level, because there's a gate, there's a shar, it's an opening of what comes out. We have to be able to close and unlock or lock what it is we want to say or wish we could say, or what have you. So there's a certain level of a shar and the ability to close that. He doesn't spell that out exactly, but he says it's in the realm of shomer, not it's shomer piv. So I'm wondering, maybe that's the idea. Okay, that was number 19. We're up to number 20. What does the key symbolize? The key symbolizes the guarding the influence of Hashem and not letting the hashpah of Hashem go to waste, right? That's what the key represents, not to let the hashpah of Hashem go to waste. A little bit of a lofty concept. Again, I don't fully understand what that means exactly, but hey, let's go. 21, a key for inviting poor people represents the idea to invite poor people. If we want our table to be mechaper, Chazal say a table, a shulchan is mechaper, you have to invite people. So open up your door and invite those who don't have as much, and that's how your table can become something that's able to be mechaper, to atone. That's what the key represents, to allow aniyim to come to your table. Number 22. The key symbolizes our doing, our little bit of effort. When you open up, Chazal say, when you're mafteach, sheyiftach adam Pesach katan, Chazal say, you open up a small Pesach, Hashem will open up something so much bigger, like the size of an ulam, right? So when you do your small thing, you just unlock a little bit that you're able to do, then Hashem will be mushpa so much onto you. We just have to do our little steps, and Hashem will do his steps, which by nature and by his mahos are big. Okay, number 23, there are the gates of, we know that the gates of tears are never locked, but sometimes the door can still close, and this is the Shlissel Challah key is coming to tell us that this is how you can still open the door that closes, is through the Shlissel Challah. Okay, that's what the key represents, that there's always a way to open up the door. Number 24. There is we say in Ne'ilah, you hear it on Mafanecha, Shomea kol b'chios shetasim dimosenu benot chalios, right? Hashem hears the voice of those who are weeping, and he places the tears benot chalios in a skin flask. He places the tears in a flask, and the key, the Shlissel Challah key, is coming to represent the fact that we want to open up that flask to access those tears that Hashem will recall, and hopefully do good for us. Number 25, the key represents tefillah. We want to connect to an ultimate tefillah of Hashem's hand, posech es yadecha umaspil lechol chai ratzon, because when Hashem opens up, then there's nothing that there's just nothing that's really beyond us. Number 26, a key is represents a person being able to open up sheyiftach adam es libo. Everybody has a lock that they place on their hearts, and you have to be able to open up that heart. And the Shlissel Challah connects us to this idea, to this theme, opening up the lock that sometimes is around our hearts. Number 27, there's a king who knocks at the door, right? Kol dodi dofeg pischili, open up for me. And he gives a beautiful mashal of a king who wants to kind of see what's going on, and he dresses up like a commoner. And he goes late at night and knocks on a person's door, and nobody answers. And he knocks, and he hears the guy yelling, "Who is at my door? Get away, you're waking me up." So the king leaves, and again, he's dressed up like a commoner. And he goes to another house, and he knocks, and he overhears the person inside. And on this door, it's a different answer. Instead of getting chutzpahdik an answer, he hears, oh my gosh, if he hears the person talking. He's like, wait, if somebody's at the door, that means they must need it. And he opens up, and he lets them in. Anyways, the two people, he ends up finding out that he's the king, and the two people, the one guy who opened up the door and the one guy who was a chutzpahnik and didn't open the door, they're both talking, and they're like, that was the king, right? And the guy who was chutzpahnik, he's like, I can't believe that. And the king gave so much goodness to the guy who opened up the door, right? And Hashem is there. He's knocking at the door. He wants us to open up for him with great opportunity. And if we could only open up that door, then we're going to be in such a great place. And the Shlissel Challah represents the idea that we want to unlock and open up the door, because there's Hashem who's knocking there. He's knocking at the door, and we want to open up and connect to him and listen to the Devar Hashem and listen to his word, and not just nudge him away and say, "No, I'm busy, I'm doing this and that, it's too late, I don't have time for HaKadosh Baruch Hu." No, we can't be like that. There's a king here. There's Hashem. He's knocking at the door. We have to open up that door. That's what the key represents. We're up to number 28. The key represents, it's in the realm of Kishach Lafar Nafshenu Dovkal Arts Benenu, that when we the Chazal say, and he brings the key, and the Chazal bring this case where you have a guy who lives on the top, an aliyah, and a guy who lives on the bias. And the guy who lives on the bias, he's nervous because it's starting to sink. His house is starting to sink. So he says to the guy who lives on top, he's like, let's just knock down the whole structure and we'll start anew. And the guy on top says to the guy on bottom, he's like, listen, right now you could still bend down a little bit. You could crouch down and walk in. And when it gets too much, then we can knock down. And eventually he gets to the point where it sinks so low, and the guy on the bottom, the bias liver, he has to actually crawl on his stomach. He has to lie down to access. And he says like this, the Khaliver Rebbe says, that's what it means. Dafkal arts benenu. Bnei Yisrael are saying to Hashem Yisrael, Ribono Shalom, habet urei, look and see, we can't take this gullus in here. We're like the people in the bias. We're like the people in that bottom house, and it's sinking. It's getting lower and lower, and it's so hard to bear the gullus anymore. At one point, okay, we could crouch, but now we're on benenu. We're on our stomachs. We're crawling. We need Hashem. Let's just start over. Let's have the geula. This is what's being meramis with the Shlissel Challah. We request from Hashem and daven sheyiftach lanu as delas hageula. We're asking Hashem to open up the doorway of geula and Yeshua, the doorway of salvation and redemption. That's 28. We're up to 29. My friends, we're almost there. Let's go. Keep buckled, okay? Number 29, the key represents salvation, the fact that salvation is close by. If somebody's stuck, and he says it's a beautiful thing based on a Zohar, that if somebody's stuck in a closed room, he starts to get so worried and so anxious, what's going to be? But as soon as he starts to hear the key fiddling in the lock, he eases up. He calms down. Even before the door opens, because he hears the key fiddling in the lock, it gives him hope that the door is about to open. We're living on the footsteps of Mashiach. We hear the key fiddling in the lock. We're so close. Salvation is so close. The fiddling is there. The key's at the door. And that's what the key, right after Pesach, the Shlissel Challah key is coming to Memramis to, is coming to be the fact that we're so close to salvation. Let it come. Please, Hashem, let it come soon. Number 30, I'll be honest with you, I actually have no idea what this representation is, but the Khaliver Rebbe says a story that he had a dream that he saw by the Kusal Maravi. There was on the left side a large eye, and the large eye, Vishamati Kol, he heard a voice that in Ayin Zu Afshel Aftach, something about opening up the door through the Shechina. I Pashut don't know. I Pashut don't understand this, so I'm not going to try to understand it. But if you look it up, it's in Parshas Emor. If you look up Os 30, you could try to figure out. That's number 30. Okay, number 31. The key represents the importance of working on ourselves. She'al yidei sheyavod al atzmo, he says. That's what the mefteach is. The key is coming to teach us that we have to, by working on ourselves, that's how we're open up. By working on ourselves, that's how we open up the gateway, the mefteach shel brachos. We want to access blessing in our lives. We have to work on ourselves. We have to work on improving our ways. Okay, number 32. We know that Chazal say there are three keys, maftechos, that are given in the hands of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara says childbirth and resurrection of the dead, T'chaim, T'chia, and Matar, which is rain or Parnasa. And we want to access those keys that are in the hands of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that's reason number 32 of what the Shlissel Challah represents. Finally, number 33, there's the special key that opens up closed doors. And you want to be able to access certain doorways. He says the story that even though Rav Nosson Adler, the Rebbe of the Chasam Sofer, never actually met the Noam Rav Eli Melech of Lezhensk and his brother Zusha, but they still had what to do with each other spiritually. And the way the story goes is that they would meet each other by the entrance or in Gan Eden, and apparently while they were still alive. They were able to access certain high points in this world. They were able to access Gan Eden. And the way the story goes, Rav Nosson Adler would say that how every single time he went there to that gateway by Gan Eden, the Rav Eli Melech and Rav Zusha were always there. They were always already there. So one time Rav Nosson Adler had this chap that he was going to go find out the earliest time. He was going to wait in line, and he was going to find out from the guard what time they opened. He was going to be there, and he was the first one there the next day. And finally he got in, and look who he sees inside. Who's in the Garden of Eden? It's none other than Rav Eli Melech and Rav Zusha. And he said, I don't understand. How can you get there? And the Khaliver Rebbe is bringing this down, is saying that because they somehow had this key. There's a key that you could get to places that other people can't necessarily get to, right? There's a door that even before the guards were able to get even before the guards were able to get there, the Rav Eli Melech and Rav Zusha were able to get there. They were able to access a certain point. Again, what does that mean for us? We could take this with a grain of salt, that there are certain places that you can only get to with a key, right? We mentioned that key represents bailus, represents ownership, represents the fact that sometimes there's so much hope right there on the other side, and all you need is the key to get there. And my friends, I know this was a lot. We just gave 33 reasons from the Khaliver Rebbe for the Shlissel Challah key. And if we could just take one takeaway, and that's this, that the key, the key represents importance. If you have a key, you have an access to places that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to get to. And it represents so much potentiality. It represents opportunity. And it's such a beautiful idea and such a beautiful minhag. If you could do it this week, it's still time. If you could do Shlissel Challah and do it be'ava and do it b'simcha and connect to the segula, connect to the tefillah of it, connect to the inspiration of it, connect to the Torah of it, connect to the minhag of it. And Beis Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should shower all of us with tremendous blessing, with brius, with nachas, with parnasa beruchnius, begashmius, and Emir Hashem, like we were saying, the fiddling of the key in the door already gives us hope. And we already hear we're so close. Mashiach is so close. And may the fiddling of the door not just be fiddling at this point, but we should actually hear the key unlock the door, and we should be able to experience Mashiach Meher v'Yameinu, Amen. Again, Meher b'Yameinu in our days, but like we said from the Shlissel Rebbe, we could view it like this: b'Yameinu with our days, one day at a time. And that's really a message for these days, that every single day of Sfira, it's we count the days. It's 49 days. B'Meher v'Yameinu. B'Yameinu. We have to build it. Uveneo sabakarav b'Yameinu. You know how to build the holiness? it's biyamenu. It's with our days, being consistent day in and day out. And to do that, we take a key and we put it in each day. There's an access point. Each day there's a place, a new opportunity. Each day has its own unique kochos, and each of us has our own unique kochos that we can apply to our days, with our days, to be able to accomplish and achieve so much. Wishing you all the best, and Hatzlacha Rabbah. Go grab your keys, put it in your challah, and have an amazing, holy Shabbos.